The storm rolled over the mountains like a beast with 1,000 frozen claws. Wind screamed through the pine trees. Snow twisted in blinding circles, and the valley below vanished under a curtain of white. It was the kind of blizzard that even seasoned ranchers respected, when the land itself went quiet, and survival became an act of stubborn will. Emma Brooks tightened the reins on her horse, Scout pulling her scarf tighter across her face. She had ridden through plenty of storms before, but this one felt different. The sky was too heavy, the cold too deep. Still, she couldn't turn back. There were cattle stranded near the ridge, and if she didn't reach them before nightfall, they'd freeze where they stood. That was the life of a cowgirl. No glamour, no applause, just grit and heart against the elements. The wind howled louder as she urged Scout forward. Snowflakes stung her cheeks like sand. Visibility dropped to almost nothing, and soon she couldn't tell sky from ground. Then through the swirl of white, she saw something, a dark lump near the old fence line. At first, she thought it was a rock, but as she got closer, her heart lurched. It was a horse, a gray one, half buried in snow, lying motionless with ice crusted along its mane. Emma leaped off Scout, falling to her knees beside the creature. Its body was trembling faintly, breath shallow, eyes glazed with exhaustion. It was alive, but barely. "Easy there, boy," she whispered, brushing snow from its neck. "I've got you." She could tell it had been out there for hours, maybe all night, with no shelter, no warmth. No one else would survive long in that cold. But Emma wasn't about to let it die. The storm battered her from all sides as she tied a rope around the gray horse's neck and tried to coax it up. It didn't budge. She gritted her teeth, pressing her face into its frozen mane. "Come on, you're not giving up." "Not out here." With a mix of pleading and raw strength, she managed to lift its head and get it halfway standing. Scout stood nearby, snorting nervously in the cold. Step by step, Emma dragged the weakened animal through the blizzard, following a path she could barely see. Every muscle in her body screamed. Her fingers went numb. Her breath came in shallow bursts. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. It was miles back to her cabin, and each minute mattered. By the time she reached the barn, her vision was swimming. She barely got the door closed before collapsing to her knees. Inside, the warmth from the wood stove wrapped around her like a memory. The gray horse sank to the straw, shivering violently. Emma rushed to get blankets, rubbing its legs, whispering soothing words. She melted snow on the stove for warm water and mixed it with oats, spoon-feeding it bit by bit. Hours passed in a blur of effort. She didn't sleep. She just watched, waited, prayed. By dawn, the horse's breathing steadied. Its eyes, once glassy, flickered with faint life. Emma smiled, tears mixing with the soot on her cheeks. "You're a fighter," she murmured. "Guess we both are." Days later, the storm cleared, revealing a valley buried under 3 feet of snow. The cattle had survived, most of them anyway. But the talk of the town wasn't about the damage. It was about the mysterious gray horse that had appeared on Emma's ranch. No brand, no tag, no trace of an owner. The locals called it fate. Emma called it a miracle. She named him Frost. What she didn't know then was that saving that horse would set in motion a chain of events that would change the valley forever. Winter lingered long that year, as if the valley itself didn't want to let go of the cold. But inside Emma Brooks's ranch, warmth was returning. Frost, the gray horse she'd rescued, had recovered, more than anyone thought possible. His coat gleamed in the sunlight, and his spirit was strong again. There was something different about him, though. He wasn't just another horse. He seemed to sense things, storms before they came, danger before it struck, sorrow before it showed. Emma noticed it one morning when Frost stopped eating, pricked his ears, and stared toward the river. Moments later, smoke began to rise from the trees in the distance. A neighbor's barn was on fire. Emma saddled Frost and rode like the wind. When she arrived, she found the Miller family desperately trying to save their livestock. Without hesitation, Frost charged into the smoke, guiding panicked animals out one by one. The Millers watched in disbelief as the gray horse moved through the flames, like he'd done it before. By the time the fire was out, word had already started spreading. "That's Emma Brooks's miracle horse," people said. The one she pulled from the storm. It wasn't long before folks from every corner of the valley came to see him. But they didn't just come for Frost, they came for hope. That winter had been cruel. Ranchers lost cattle, families lost savings, and the spirit of the valley had gone cold. Yet somehow seeing that horse alive reminded them what resilience looked like. Emma didn't plan to become a symbol of anything. She was just a cowgirl doing what she thought was right. But when the town's feed store ran out of supplies and folks couldn't afford more, she offered help. With Frost by her side, she started delivering feed across snowed-in trails. She pulled old sleds full of grain and medicine through blizzards, knocking on doors and leaving hope where it was needed most. People began leaving notes at her gate, messages of thanks, prayers, little tokens of kindness. The valley started to thaw, not just from the weather, but from the warmth returning to its people. Months later, when spring finally broke through the last crust of ice, Emma stood on her porch watching Frost graze in the meadow. The air smelled of pine and new life. She thought about that night in the storm, the moment she almost gave up and realized something profound. Sometimes the lives we save aren't just about survival. Sometimes they remind us of what it means to keep going. The valley that had nearly been lost to winter now pulsed with new life. Neighbors helped neighbors, farmers shared tools, children played again in the fields. And at the heart of it all stood one cowgirl and her gray horse. As the camera pulls back, you see the valley stretch wide beneath the sunset. Glowing gold and alive again, Emma rests a hand on Frost's neck, smiling softly. "You did good, boy," she whispers. We both did. Soft cinematic music rises, hopeful and inspiring tone. If Emma and Frost's story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Stories like this remind us that kindness, courage, and compassion can change everything, even an entire valley. So hit that subscribe button, share this story, and keep the spirit of hope alive, because you never know when your small act of kindness might just change the world.